Hello friends. Today we are going to talk about a novel, Time Machine. The novel is written by H.G.Wells and the novel falls under the genre of science fiction. Let us have a quick look at the biography of the writer. H.G. Wells is Herbert George Wells. He was born in Bromley, Kent on 21st of September 1866. Herbert belongs to a poor family. His father was a poor man. He had to work as a domestic servant at different places. His mother also was a working person. Herbert was a sincere student. He developed his interest in science and he became a science teacher. Time Machine is his first novel, which is written in 1895. We know H.G. Wells as the father of English science fiction, and it is he who has coined the term time machine. So let us understand the plot of the novel. You might have heard about the idiom to be ahead of time, but how much ahead of time we should be? To be proactive, to be revolutionary by nature. You will be surprised to know that our protagonist, the time traveler, is 30 million years, more than 30 million years ahead of time. We are going to explore the story of visiting the future with this time traveler. Let us understand a few characters. The time traveler is the central character in this novel. He believes in contemporary theories of science. He respects Darwin's theory of origin. By nature, he is cheerful and lively. The time traveler is employed in proving that in addition to length, breadth and thickness, time, duration is the fourth dimension to any real body. He wants to prove that space and time both are accessible. For him, both are isotropic. That means we can move in space and also in time, and that too in any direction. So this is our time traveler. The another character is the narrator, Mr. Hillier. Mr. Hillier is an educated man. He is a wise person. He patiently listens to all the stories which are narrated by the time traveler. And these stories of the time traveler are his experiences. He claims that he has visited the future, and he says that with the help of this time machine, anybody can visit the time. Hillier is actually an admirer of T.T. He sympathizes with T.T. is the time traveler. Some other characters in this book are the medical man. The medical man is also belongs to the cohort of the time traveler, but he does not agree with whatever the time traveler has to say. He doesn't show his opposition, but at the same time he doesn't partake in any of the enthusiastic ventures by this time traveler. When he says that he is in disagreement with the time traveler tells him, "My dear sir, that is just where you are wrong. That is just where the whole world has gone wrong. We are always getting away from the present moment. Our mental existence, which are immaterial and have no dimensions, are passing along the time dimension with a uniform velocity from the cradle to the grave." So this is the conversation between the medical man and the time traveler. We also have the psychologist here. The psychologist appreciates time traveler's efforts, but he is introspective and he reserves his comments and he doesn't speak any word on the not so easy to be accepted and illogical explanations given by the time traveler. We also meet the editor, who is also skeptical, and he also makes fun of the time traveler. One more interesting character in the novel is of the Provincial Mayor, who does not have any grudge against science, but is very vocal about himself having serious objections against the time traveler's invention. He attends the first gathering and then silently avoids to be a part of the group. Filby is one more impressive character. He is utterly against any of the ideas presented by the time traveler. Filby is very argumentative, and he notices that the time traveler is desperate to prove his visit into the future. But Filby is very clear, and he says, "You can show black is white by argument, but you will never convince me." We also meet another man who is named as the man with the beard. He is a sensitive and a patient man. He attends meetings, but as the narrator says, he is also shy and quiet, and he never opens his mouth to share his views on the time traveler's inventions. So this is how we see that these people, this cohort, meets regularly and they listen to the stories which the time traveler narrates. The time traveler has invited all these friends to listen to his stories of success. Now, the first question that comes to our mind is that where did the time traveler go into the future? So, as per his stories or as per his experiences, he has made a giant leap into the future and has reached the year 8,02,101. So, he has crossed almost 30 millions of years with the help of a time machine. The time traveler tells his friends that he happened to see a community of alloys. Alloys are short in height, they believe in merriment, they eat, drink and party, they are lethargic, they don't work, they have machines at their commands, and they are extremely rich. There was an utter want of moral education and general cooperation. The time traveler says that the alloys are armed with a perfected science. The time traveler calls them as the upper worlders. The time traveler also happened to meet one more community, and that is of Morlocks. Morlocks are the undergrounders. Alloys are always in fear of getting attacked by the Morlocks. Morlocks look like apes, and they are the descendants of the working class people of 19th century England. And here we can say that H.G.Wells is satirizing the present situation of 19th century. Morlocks hardly come on earth, on the surface of the earth. They live deep in the earth. They attack the time traveler. They take away his time machine, and so the time traveler could not come back to the present. With the portrayal of alloys and Morlocks, the writer draws our attention to the relegated condition of human life. In the end, we see that the time traveler has invited his associates, but he comes late by half an hour. Now, when he is asked about the reason for being late, he says that I am late due to the time machine. That incurs a clumsy impression to him as well as to his machine. But he was over enthusiastic to narrate his experiences in front of his friends. So he starts the narration, the spellbinding narration of his experiences. His associates, despite the fact that they were not in agreement with him, they kept quiet and they just listened to him. The next day, Hillier comes and asks him about the truth. At that time, the time traveler says Why don't you believe me? I have really visited the future. Right now I will go and I will come back in half an hour. So he sits on his machine, he starts the machine and he disappears. At the end we see that the narrator is waiting for him to return, is waiting for the time traveler to return. But the time traveler does not return. So this is how the story ends. And at the end we see Hillier says, "At that I understood. I stayed on, waiting for the time traveler, waiting for the second, perhaps still stranger story and the specimens and photographs he would bring with him. But I am beginning now to fear that I must wait a lifetime. The time traveler vanished 3 years ago, and as everybody knows now, he has never returned." So with this story, let us try to understand the symbolic interpretations that we have. The time traveler is not given any name. That itself suggests that any experience of traveling ahead of time is not possible. That itself makes us skeptical about any possible existence of the time traveler and the time machine. The over-ambitious nature of the time traveler does not fetch any positive result. And so, we can say that the time traveler is a prototype or the inflated version of the 19th century craze for scientific inventions. Personally speaking, the time traveler neither amuses us as the character of the Spider-Man nor impresses us like Harry Potter. In the creation of the time traveler, H.G.Wells does not glorify the pursuit of science. Instead, he appeals to us to harness the positive power of energy. H.G.Wells also draws our attention to a distinctive line between intuition and daydreaming. The untimely and the unfortunate death of the alloy child Veena speaks about the heartlessness of the society. Veena reminds us of the suicidal death of John from Brave New World. The alloy child Veena was a childlike creature. She was very amiable. When she saw Time Traveler for the first time, she cried with delight. She offered him flowers, and the Time Traveler and Veena developed good cord of friendship. Veena's death, followed by the fire and massacre, upsets the Time Traveler, who himself says, "It is more like the sorrow of a dream than an actual loss." Now this line shows that perhaps the Time Traveler is aware about his created haziness. The end of the novel is quite disappoints us with the character of the Time Traveler and also with the plot of the novel. All throughout the novel, we hear that the Time Traveler can visit the future. But at last, when the narrator asks him to produce the evidences of his truth, he promisingly starts his machine and just disappears. He never returns. The narrator waits for him and he never returns. So this is how the story ends. Veena's human-like character dies at a young age and also without any reason. We can say that Veena is crucified, she is persecuted, and she is silenced in the fights of alloys and Morlocks. With Veena's accidental death, the only hope of humanity or morality in future is also curbed. As far as the accessibility to the time is concerned, the readers remain clueless. So that is it for today. Thank you so much.